I'm glad you can join me in the Past the Wire office studio war room, all rolled up in one. And this evening we're going to talk about Saturday's Preakness, which I think shapes up to be a pretty interesting race and a decent race to speculate and wager on. Before we get to it, we'll talk a little bit about the Pimlico racetrack. You know, they don't run a lot at Pimlico anymore. We know that, and the racetrack has a reputation of being a speedy type track because of the tight turns there. And historically, I don't know that is actually true. I think that Pimlico is a pretty honest racetrack and plays pretty fair most of the time. It can develop a bias or a trend on a given day. Today, which is Thursday, it was rather speed friendly, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that way on Saturday, and it certainly doesn't mean that it's historically speed favoring track, which for some reason it's always had a reputation as being, and it's just really not the case. It's an honest track if it's playing fair, and it usually does. Horses can win from anywhere over there. So, I'll look at the race at this point as if the track is playing fair. Let's hope it is. Obviously, if there is a bias and a true significant bias on Saturday, we may adjust a little bit, but I've got a feeling it's going to play pretty fair and pretty level. When you look at the Preakness this year, I see I see a race that's going to have a contested pace and probably a pretty lively pace. They're going a mile and 3/16. They've got a nice long run into that first turn down the straight, and I think Authentic is going to break and make anybody who wants the lead have to outrun him into that first turn in order to get it, and I think that's going to ensure a pretty hot pace, because when we go through these horses, I see, more than one or two that like to be up close. Art Collector, who I think is a very serious racehorse and a serious player in here, likes to be near the front. Doesn't need to be on the lead, but likes to be real close to it, and I expect that to be how he runs on Saturday. Swiss Skydiver, the filly, interesting addition. I'm glad she's in there. I don't really like her to win, but I think she's definitely going to be, part of that pace or prompting that pace. And in my opinion, sometimes, horses that are prompting the pace, and you have a couple of horses that like to prompt the pace, can ensure that it's as fast the same way speed horses that are out there winging can ensure it. So I think that, there's two right there I think are going to be pace factors. 1,000 Words, he puts blinkers on. He can really go either way. I have a tendency to think he's going to be up close. He may not be the one that wants to, take out Authentic. Baffert's got both of them in there, so I doubt those two are going to be killing each other. But, they're all in there to win. So if Giroux thinks that that's his best shot to win, he'll be up there. And with the blinkers, I think, if he's not on the pace or close to it, prompting it, I think he's an early mover. And an early move can also help the pace. So to me, we got a lively pace on Saturday. Jesus' Team looks a cup below, but it's another one that likes to prompt or be close to the pace, and I think he's going to be a factor in it. New York Traffic is another one that likes to be close or prompt, and Authentic, of course, likes to be, close or on it and set it, and, I don't expect that to change at all. Pneumatic is another one that I think can, I suspect can go either way. Second time out at Oaklawn, he kind of sat and rallied going a two-turn mile there at Oaklawn Park. And I think that the way this race shapes up, he's probably going to be coming from off it on Saturday, but he doesn't have to be. If Bravo likes to be up close, and he can certainly go either way with this horse. But Bravo's also a smart rider. He's been around a long time, so I have a tendency to think that Pneumatic is going to be coming from off the pace, and I think that actually makes him more of a contender in here. And I know he's, quote, the wise guy horse, and those horses never win. But I don't really pay attention to things like that. If I like a horse, I like a horse, regardless of who else likes him. Most of the time, there are a couple of exceptions. So I think when I run down the field and I look at all of those that I mentioned, I see a scenario that is probably going to be a lively pace scenario. Now, can an only speed jump out there and beat them all? Maybe. Or outrun them all, a speed to speed kind of scenario? Maybe. I don't think that's going to happen. I think something's going to give late, and that's why I land on number 2, Mr. Big News, which is really, although he's going to be 10, 11, 9 to 1, something like that. I think he's 12 to 1 on the morning line. I really have only one concern about him, and that's that he ran a very big number, a fast number on Thorograph last time out. He ran a 0, and that was a good step up for him. So there is a little bit of a danger of a regression. But I think the pace just plays so much into his hands. And I'm a big fan, and have been for a long time, of Brett Calhoun. I think he's an outstanding trainer, outstanding horseman, sharp as a razor, and knows his way around a good horse as well. So I think this Giants Causeway colt is gonna be running late like he was in the Kentucky Derby. He ran 3rd in the Kentucky Derby, and he passed good amount of horses. I think that he's the one that's going to be rallying into what I expect to be a lively and/or contested and hotly prompted pace. There are other closers in there, and I can certainly make a case for any of them. But I lean to Mr. Big News because I respect Calhoun. I think he's got him coming into the race right. He's 3rd off a layoff. I'm a little worried about that regression off the big number, but I'm hoping that maybe he's just getting good and is ready to repeat that. I'm not really sure he can go forward off that number, but I don't know that he necessarily has to. I think if he can repeat it or come very close to it, I think he can win this race. Going down the field, my thoughts, Accession. He's a deep closer. He's another one that's coming off a very big last race, but he's had a little bit of a layoff after it. He's probably one of the deeper closers in here. Sheldon Russell rides that track very well. That's his home base, Maryland. And, I expect him to be coming, but I don't expect him to be coming as good and as fast as I expect Mr. Big News to be coming. Art Collector, major factor, consider trip and win. I'm just going to, take the position that he's probably going to get caught up in that pace and get passed for the win by Mr. Big News. Swiss Skydiver, same thing. I'm not a fan of the move from Gaffleone to Alvarado. No knock on Alvarado, but I just don't think that's a move that's going to help this horse in this race, this filly in this race. And, just Art Collector beat her on the square in the bluegrass. I don't really see anything that jumps out at me that says she's going to be able to turn the tables on him and beat the rest of these nice colts in here as well. 1,000 Words is an intriguing horse to me. He's one of the ones I will be very afraid of going into the gate. Obviously, he didn't get a chance to show what he can do in the Kentucky Derby. He reared in the paddock, scratched, and didn't run. Puts blinkers on here. Gets Florent Giroux, and has shown the ability to rally from off the pace. He won the R.B. Lewis at Santa Anita, sitting 5th and 4th. He's run 2nd in the Los Al Derby to Uncle Chuck, coming from a little bit off the pace. The blinkers don't have to make him speed crazy or make him go to lead. They could just make him a little sharper, a little bit more focused, and his rider can kind of dictate what he does with that. And he, like I said, doesn't need the lead. So he's another one I think is a very dangerous horse in a win slot. So if I was going to go too deep, Mr. Big News would definitely be the main one for me, and is. But the next one I might throw in would be 1,000 Words. Jesus' team looks a cut below these. he's been close to a couple of these. Authentic beat him pretty easily into Haskell, and I don't think that was Authentic's best race. Pneumatic beat him into Pegasus. A couple of these horses beat him. Living Your Best Life beat him. New York Traffic beat him. He'd need a couple of those to really flop and him to really step up. I guess in order to turn the tables, he's 30-1 on the morning line. Probably should be, in my opinion. New York Traffic, I hear a lot of chatter about him. I think we really saw the true him in the Derby as opposed to the Haskell when he couldn't get past Authentic, and I don't think that was Authentic's best race. I don't think anybody does. He could be a player, and he does kind of sit a little bit, but I'm not there, not sold. Max Player, closer, dangerous on that. I just think that Mr. Big News is a better and faster closer. This is his second start, Max Player, for Rasmussen. That's a little bit of a concern. Paco gets him. He could come flying and run past them all. Wouldn't shock me. I'm not going there. Like I said, I think Mr. Big News is a better closer, and that's that. But this horse would not shock me at all. Authentic, I think the race goes through him for sure. That's no surprise. He's 9-5 favorite. He's the Kentucky Derby winner. He's got one blemish on his resume in the Santa Anita Derby, and that was off a little bit of a layoff, and he's just really come around since then. It's my understanding that after the Haskell, he had a throat operation. I knew that going into the Derby, and I think that helped him. I also, and I said this on our podcast before the Derby, I wasn't worried about the 1.25 miles. I think he's a nice racehorse, and he's an into mischief, and a lot of people question that distance, and he's already shown he can get that 1.25 miles when things go his way. If he does break out there and Johnny says, "Come catch me," and nobody for some reason goes, which is not what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to press him and go. But if that doesn't happen, he could easily wire these. But I just think there's too many in here with some gas to let him get that easy lead. But I wouldn't knock anybody using a Baffert Derby winner coming back in the Preakness, even if this is 2020 and they ran the Belmont before any of these races. So, is what it is. I'm just going to go for the price on Mr. Big News. Pneumatic, he's another one that if I was using more than one horse, it would be, he would probably be the third one. I would, have Mr. Big News. I would have 1,000 Words, and then I would probably have Pneumatic. Pneumatic, to me, if he runs, the right kind of race from off the pace, he's a horse that could be getting good at the right time, and I like horses like that. So, he's really, really well bred. He's an Uncle Mo out of Teardrop by Tappet. Winchell can breed a really nice racehorse, and this horse could really step up here and win. Again, he's the wise guy horse that a lot of people are talking about, and they say those horses never win. Well, be that as it may, I don't really pay much attention to that. Live Your Best Life, closer. I just think the other closers are better. He is coming off a good race in the Jim Dandy, a little bit of a layoff, a nice win at Saratoga after that. I think he really liked Saratoga, kind of got good up there. He's going to have to show me that he can bring that show on the road and do it against these kind of horses in this kind of race, away from the spot. Not sold. So for me, it's Mr. Big News, and really the only concern that I have is that regression off that 3-4 point jump forward on a thoroughbred last time out. That's a concern to me. But I like Calhoun. I wish I saw a little livelier work in the last work, but the work before that, which was after the Derby, was good. 48 breezing. Then he's got a 50 breeze. But Calhoun knows what he's doing, and I don't think he'd be in here if the horse wasn't doing well. And I think he's another one that may just be, in the right place at the right time, and that's where I'm going to land. So enjoy the race. I think it's going to be an interesting day. There are a lot of good races on Saturday, which is interesting. Usually we're all focused on Preakness Day on Saturday, and now because of the craziness of this year, we've got Keeneland running a stellar card. We've got Belmont with a really good card, and then we've got Santa Anita later to kind of wrap things up. So there's a lot of races all over the place. One thing I will say, and I've written columns about this, trap days I call these. These are days when you're pulled all over the place, and it's going to be very hard if you're betting. I mean, there are some days where you're hot and you can't do nothing wrong, and all the power to you. But if you play enough of these races and sequences, you're going to get burned somewhere. So my advice is to pick the card and sequence you like the best and you feel the strongest about, and go after that, and send your bankroll in that direction, and give yourself the best shot of making a score on Saturday. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bet the Preakness for sure, and I already told you I'm going to bet Mr. Big News. But as far as going after all these pick fours and pick fives all over the place, no, not for me. I'm gonna zero in on one wager, and it might be the cross country pick five, which I don't normally go after, but I think it's all graded stakes, maybe even all grade ones on Saturday between Belmont and Keeneland. That's an interesting proposition in my opinion, and I like those kind of races, so I may land there and then just bet this Preakness. I'm looking to get 9, 10, 11 to 1 on Mr. Big News, and I'm looking for him to be coming late on the Gabriel Saez, who rides excellent. He's not Luis Saez. I think they're cousins, but he is a very, very capable, excellent, under-the-radar rider who's won some big races, and Kentucky Oaks being one of them, and he knows what to do with a racehorse, and he's I like him. So that's what I got for the Preakness. I hope you all enjoy Saturday's races. Thanks for tuning in, and ciao for now.